Next thing I want to show you is how to print arrays. And printing arrays is pretty simple. There are two different ways to do it. The first, well, they both involve for loops because we want to print out the entire array that is listed here, which in this case has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. So it has index numbers of 0 through 7. So to print out the entire array, we set up a for loop, integer I equals 0. Now the 0 means that it has to start at this first number. I'll show you in a second what happens when we want to jump around. I is less than, in this case my array's name is goals.length, and I plus plus. It's going to increase I each time. And then all we're going to print, system.out.println goals of I. It's going to print out goals of I. So this is going to take each number and write it on the individual line. Give you a second to do the comparisons and see how it works. That's the first way to do it. The second way is changing the for loop to be a for each loop. This also prints out each individual item. Go ahead and close that. A for each loop just goes and says for, you declare a new double, so I'll call it double U, and we compare it to the array, and it just simply passes the value, has to be the same type, but just passes the value to the U. And it still accomplishes the same thing. I will take either way, although I think, especially if you're still struggling with the concept, the individual for loop is the better way. Something else I want to show you with this real quickly is we can also control which piece of information we're looking at. Suppose I wanted to print the loop or the array out backwards. So I could start for int I equals goals.length minus 1, because remember, our length is the one number higher than our highest index. We can have it run until I is greater than or equal to 0, and we can subtract 1 from I. This here will actually go ahead and print the array out backwards. Take a look. The array is now printed out backwards. I'll give you a second to compare. Within that, we can also go and change where it starts at. Let's say I wanted to start in the middle. I equals 4, I is less than goals.length, I plus plus. I'm going back the other way now. This can start in the middle, so it started at the fourth index of 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, start at 21.3 and print off the rest. I can stop it early. So -2, so I'm taking care of these last two. So it just prints out these middle two. I can also change it to where it runs the full distance, but it increases by 2. There's a lot, thus skipping the odd ones. There are a lot of different ways to manipulate how this works. That is why there's such an important emphasis on looking at the for loop and being creative with it, with the numbers, because this is where this really begins to apply, because now we want to control exactly what information we're pulling out, and we can do that with the for loop. That's the basics behind printing arrays. You're going to have to look at your individual situation and what you want to do with it to understand how to set up your for loop.